look back at learnings, I think one was of course the functional learnings. You learnt about marketing, you learnt about corporate finance, you learnt about the supply chain, you learnt about management information systems. So that's one part of the learnings. I think I also learnt, IIM Ahmedabad has the case study method of teaching and learning. And one of my most important learnings from all those case studies was that there is no perfect solution to most business issues, but there is always an optimal solution. And reaching that optimal solution is important with whatever data you have in hand. And you will never have all the data that you require to come to that decision or to come to that solution. That was another important learning to me. The third bit of learning, I think, was that in many of the business problems that you're confronted with, your textbooks actually don't contain the answers. Very much unlike engineering textbooks or unlike science textbooks, management textbooks don't contain the answers. The answers are all in your mind and the ingenuity that you bring to bear in resolving those problems or issues. So I think those are kind of the learnings that I had. Right. And the other learning which has remained in my mind is that management is partly a science, but partly an art. And fusing the two together is very, very important to become a good manager in life. If there's one thing that could be added on to my MBA, it would have been the learning of people skills. The MBA of our time taught us a lot about every functional area. I think we became experts in analysis, we became experts in choosing options, communication, reports, the whole lot. But the one thing I believe many of us were not focused on was the learning of people skills. I think an MBA should be at least 40% people skills in what it teaches. How best to interact with people, how to carry people with you, how to interface with different teams within an organization, how to be a good team player, how to be a good leader of people, how to manage issues and opportunities relating to people. I think those are the most valuable skills that a manager can have today. And if I were to go back 2 to 3 decades, that's what I would want in my MBA program. I think largely it is still relevant to today's way of doing business. Eventually, an organization is all about the right leadership, the right strategy, the right approach to customers, putting the right value chain in place, and an MBA takes you through many of those aspects with very, very systematic focus. Based on the science and based on the empirical data and based on what the best thinkers have brought to bear about the subject. So I think the MBA gives you all those fundamental building blocks in one concentrated span of 2 years. That's still very, very valuable for today. Yes, of course, I think the MBA should morph into something better. I think a lot of today's digital transformation needs to enter the world of the MBA. A lot of what is happening across the world, the economic and political forces of today are quite different from what they were 2 or 3 decades ago. I think some sense of that needs to enter today's MBA. But largely speaking, the MBA is very, very relevant. And I think one of the finest degrees to have when you enter the world of business. My advice to them would be, for the first 10 years of your career, do 2 things. One, learn as much as you can. Soak up as much learning as you can from the leaders of your organization, from your supervisors. That's the best time in your life to learn. You learn throughout your career, but the first 10 years, you learn like an empty sponge. And that's very, very important. The second thing that I would tell young MBAs is, choose one functional area and build depth and expertise in that functional area. Because a lot of what you achieve in your later career comes from the respect that you earn and the confidence that you gain through that in-depth knowledge in one functional area. These are 2 pieces of advice I'd like to leave with them. let me put that in 3 or 4 buckets. First, when it comes to reading about management, I think I have found it very interesting and very insightful and very useful to read some of the classic pieces that appear in management journals like the Harvard Business Review. For instance, Levitt's piece on marketing myopia, okay, or the piece on the Pygmalion effect. Now, there are classic pieces which you can visit and revisit again, and I think they stoke your mind, they stoke your ideas. That's one bit of reading that I would strongly recommend. The second bit of reading that I would strongly recommend is at least one good business newspaper every single day. I think you need to be informed of what is happening in the business world around you, and a good business newspaper delivers that to you along with views. The third bit, which I think is equally important, is the reading of good literature, good history. There are lessons that good literature holds and good history holds that you cannot get in management textbooks. So when you read Charles Dickens, or you read Leo Tolstoy, or you read William Shakespeare, or you read Winston Churchill's history of World War II, I think the lessons that those can hold can complement what you learn through the books and journals of management. So I think it's a combination of all that. But I cannot overemphasize the importance of reading. When you stop reading, you stop learning. Therefore, whatever else you do, take at least an hour per week and read something which is very interesting, which is informative, which is insightful, which is provocative. Reading is such a wonderful window to the world. Don't ever miss that window of reading.